Reverse.
How great the rule of liberation, a formless field of merit, wrapping ourselves in Buddha's teaching, we free all living beings. And know I thus liberate countless beings, not a single being is liberated.
Incense chant.
Precepts incense, liberation of views incense, cloud of lighted incense pouring into the Dharma realms. Offering to the highest teachers of the 10 directions, I respectfully bow to the altar of the incense cloud. Bodhisattva.
Wisdom dedication.
We dedicate this time and place to the 3 jewels.
To the Buddha, the ideal of enlightenment to which we aspire. To the Dharma, the path of the teaching that we follow. To the Sangha, the spiritual fellowship with one another that we enjoy. Here may no idle word be spoken. Here may no unquiet thoughts disturb our minds.
To the observance of the 5 precepts,
we dedicate this place.
To the practice of meditation,
we dedicate this place.
To the ripening of wisdom,
we dedicate this place.
To the joy of awakening,
we dedicate this place.
Though in the world outside there is strife, here
may there be peace.
Though in the world outside there is hate,
here may there be joy.
Here seated, here practicing,
may our minds become Buddha, may our thoughts become Dharma, may our speech together become Sangha, for the happiness of all beings, for the benefit of all beings. With body, speech, and mind, we dedicate this place. Chant of compassion. We surround all forms of life with infinite love and compassion. Especially do we send out compassionate thoughts to those in suffering and sorrow, to those in doubt and ignorance, to all who are striving to attain truth, and to those whose feet stand close to the great change called death. We send forth all wisdom, mercy, and love. May the infinite light of wisdom and compassion so shine within us that the errors and vanities of self may be dispelled. So shall we understand the changing nature of existence and awaken into spiritual peace. The refuges.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha. The 5 precepts.
I take up the practice of not harming living beings.
I take up the practice of not harming living beings.
I will not take what is not offered.
I will not take what is not offered.
I will not misuse sexuality or sensuality.
I will not misuse sexuality or sensuality.
I will practice gentle, truthful speech.
I will practice gentle, truthful speech.
I will not deal in nor misuse intoxicants.
I will not deal in nor misuse intoxicants. The Buddha Srangamagata. True nature is free from all phenomena, which are illusions by causes created. Phenomena neither rise nor fall, but all phenomena are flowers in the sky. The unreal reveals the real, but both are but illusions, since there is nothing real nor unreal. How can there be a subject and an object? For between the two there is no true nature, like the point where two hush bundles meet when set upright, tying and untying from the same cause arise, while the saintly and the worldly are not dual. Consider underlying nature at the point of meeting, where both is and is not, cannot be. If you disregard it, you are in delusion. If you awaken to it, you are free at once. 6 knots are untied one after the other. When 6 are undone, one vanishes as well. Choose a sense organ that is all penetrating to enter the holy stream and attain Bodhi. Old habits flow like torrents in a subtle consciousness, since the real yet unreal can create confusion. I have refrained from revealing it to you. If mind be set on searching for the mind, that which at heart is not illusion becomes illusory. If you stop all grasping, then there is nothing real. If what is not illusion ceases to arise, where can illusion be? This is the profound lotus Dharma, the precious Bodhi of the royal gem, the samadhi of seeing all things as illusion, which in a finger snap leads to the state beyond all study. The unsurpassed doctrine was followed by all Bhagavats in all directions on the one path that to nirvana leads.
For many of us, this week has been challenging. Going into the holiday season is always challenging. Weather change is always challenging. Prone to getting sick, being frustrated, having the demands of the holiday season, social obligations, maybe the monetary obligations, And, Thanksgiving is going to be here very quickly. I know that most of us have the hardest time accommodating those difficult social interactions around the holidays. Conversations about our boundaries, our limits, our needs, and our wants, and the pressure to have a good time. And it can be really difficult to navigate those situations. I think there are a lot of tools that our practice brings us or lets us have. We need to remember that we have those tools at our disposal. Something that is helpful for me is turning my focus away from an objective. I tend to have a very analytical way of looking at things. Here's the starting point, here's the end point. What is the shortest route to get there? And so these challenges can be extra difficult because of the high stakes or seemingly high stakes that everyone seems to be feeling. So I think it's important to remember that as we're communicating with each other and as we're navigating through these difficult times, to remember that our interactions with each other are not linear. That our communication at its core should not be focused on being understood. That sounds very counterintuitive to the message, but ultimately, when we are hurt or challenged by these interactions, it tends to be a disappointment, a expectation that wasn't fulfilled, I needed something from you out of this conversation and I didn't get it. And now I'm left hurt because I put too much into this. I gave something I couldn't afford to give. Whether it's a conversation about food, conversation about our flexibility with our plans. Some of those things do have real messages that need to be conveyed clearly. But I'm learning this. There's more than one way to get there. It doesn't have to be this is my message, you got it, good, okay, we're done. You meet people where they are. You can come to the table with that compassion, with that loving kindness. In Buddhism, that compassion is really unconditional loving kindness. So the idea would be to come to these conversations without an expectation. And that's challenging for me because I've leaned heavily on that coping mechanism of needing to be prepared for conversations. And that's gotten me far. But now it's limiting me. And so it's that, I pick up the tool when I need it, and I don't have a use for this tool anymore, and now I need to learn to set it down. Because our conversation with our loved ones is never a straight line. And so I think that, the most important thing to keep in mind is to be flexible, to be able to meet people where they are, to be able to not not be rigid, let the conversation go the way it's going to go. And if it doesn't go the way that you wanted it to go, that's okay. Because the idea is that I am not putting my well-being on being understood. And really it's a taking responsibility for your own well-being at its core. To say, I'm not going to give away my well-being to this conversation, and not in a passive aggressive way, in a way that is just realistic. Because the Buddha teaches us that we are solely responsible for our own well-being, and that we can't expect other people to understand us, nor can we understand other people. One of the most comforting things that I find I keep coming back to is the Buddhist teaching that says our language has no meaning. And ultimately, that's, we prove that out in our own practice, because we have this understanding of our thoughts arising, of our perception, of how that impacts, our impression of the world around us. Each of us has a different perception of all of the words that we use to communicate based on our own experiences in life. So there really is no way to truly understand each other. So setting that goal as a goal is unrealistic. And I think that it's important not to cherry pick, these things that we're talking about, because ultimately all of the skillfulness that we benefit from this practice is simply a byproduct of our practice of Supreme Bodhi. So, taking that one fact of we'll never truly understand each other, and not, tying it back to the root, which is Supreme Bodhi, would be not the point. I just want to clarify that. So when we practice Supreme Bodhi, we have this vigilant awareness of our thoughts. And as we develop our skillfulness, we're able to see that unconditional loving kindness emerge naturally. We're able to see that in our everyday interactions with people, it gets easier to let go of those expectations. And so the best tool that we can use in these difficult or challenging times, really any time, is going to the Supreme Bodhi. And as we meditate here together, meditation is really just an opportunity for focused effort. Focused effort on experiencing Supreme Bodhi. But Supreme Bodhi is not limited to just when we're sitting and meditating. And that's, what people mean when they say taking the practice off the cushion is experiencing Supreme Bodhi everywhere. And something I, really appreciate about the emerging, mental health focus are all of these methods that are coming out for cognitive behavioral therapy can also be applied to our practice. For instance, the 5-4-3-2-1 method, which is a method of stopping anxiety attacks originally, but it's a method that encourages us to focus on our sense objects, right? So the idea is name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can taste, 1 thing, 2 things you can touch, 1 thing smell. You go down the list of your sense organs and you focus your attention on what your senses are perceiving. And while that isn't directly what our effort is, it's very helpful in being able to take this Supreme Bodhi off the cushion, because if we can remember that, then Supreme Bodhi is accessible everywhere. And just as a refresher and to help bring some clarity and some background connection to this, Supreme Bodhi, our method of meditating, our method of finding Supreme Bodhi, was taught to us from the Shrangama Sutra, from the Buddha. And essentially what we're doing is I like to say we're artificially creating these thoughts as a practice ground. It's not really artificial. It's more like intentionally, making our thoughts arise so that we can see them arising and we can see them falling. So what we're doing is we're taking these sense objects, and the sense objects are just the things that we can perceive with our sense organs, our eyes and our ears and our nose, tongue, touch, and slowing it down. So like if you see the floor in front of you, that would be a sense object. And what we would do with that is focus on phenomena, slow it down even more. So the phenomena is just the physical aspects that you can identify. So like the floor in front of me is flat. The floor in front of me is brown. And I don't know, it's made of wood, right? So those three physical attributes, those 3 phenomena. We could see clearly that as we list off each one, the thoughts are arising: flat, brown, wood, whatever your floor is in front of you. And then in our practice, we take a second object, maybe the wall, and we'll go, it's flat, but it's vertical, and it's like an off-white color, right? And that lets you see, right, the thoughts arising about the wall. And the idea here is that as our thoughts arise about the wall, we should reflect on what's happening to the thoughts we just had about the floor. What happened to them? They diminish. So as one thought arises, another thought diminishes, and we're using these sense objects as training wheels in order to see that delineation, see the arising, see the falling away. And when you first start this exercise, it might be really hard to see that. because maybe you're struggling with racing thoughts. And I would encourage you, if that's the case, to focus on one sense object until your thoughts slow down. So maybe I'll be, focusing on the floor for a while, and then I'll move to the wall once things slow down. And over time, you'll notice that there's quietness between a thought diminishing and a thought arising. And that is what we're going for. We're going for that quietness between the fading of a thought and the arising of another thought. And that is Supreme Bodhi. And so you can see how the 5-4-3-2-1 method fits into this, because it refocuses your attention on the sense objects. And as you go through the list of 5 things you can see, you can practice your Supreme Bodhi, getting to Supreme Bodhi. And this can happen anywhere at any time. And the whole idea of us sitting here in meditation together is so that we can discover that. Get familiar with what Supreme Bodhi is, and how to get there, so that when we need it, we can get to it quickly. And I think that it always is. It always is a challenge. We're always going to struggle until we don't anymore. And we just need to remember what we're doing here together, and remember that these tools are on our tool belt all the time, no matter where we are, what's happening. And we just need to remember to use them. And that ends my Dharma Talk. I did want to bring up an announcement. If any of our longtime Sangha members would like to participate or lead a Dharma Talk, even remote attendees remote Sangha members are welcome to do so. Just feel free to let me know if you want to lead a Dharma Talk, or let me know if you want to be in the pool of, just randomly asking, hey, can you do a Dharma Talk today? I don't think that I've made that clear, and that offer is really only for those established Sangha members as a learning opportunity. So if you want to challenge yourself and you're a Sangha member, feel free to ask. Okay, we'll move into closing gatha.
Closing gatha. Let me respectfully remind you, life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes swiftly and opportunity is lost. Each of us should strive to awaken. Awaken, take heed, do not squander your life. Offering of merit. May the merit of this penetrate into each thing in all places, so that we and every sentient being together can realize the Buddha's way. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, experience Supreme Bodhi.